So welcome back to my channel, guys. This time it's gonna be about the non-core infantry top 5 for the 9th Age fantasy battles. So previous video I did core infantry choices. Now we're gonna go and have a look at the non-core options. Other categories will still follow in the future, such as special, infantry, cavalry, core cavalry, war machines, all the good stuff. But for now we're gonna just focus on the non-core infantry. One consideration here is that Swift Stride is a very big bonus to infantry, I find. So there's going to be some choices here that have Swift Stride, and that also makes them way better. And also I excluded large infantry from this top 5, because that's going to have another video. So let's get started with the number 5 pick. This is going to be the Gnasher herd for me. So it's the Orc and Goblin Gnasher herd. It's a bit of a glass cannon, but for the points that you pay for them, they're really amazing. Or at least I think they are. I mean, if any other army had access to Gnasher herd, then they would also just definitely take them. So what do you get for your points? You get 2 attacks at offensive 4, strength 5 with AP 2 at agility 4, and agility 4 for Orcs and Goblins is quite high indeed. You also have access to Witchcraft, so you can still buff it up a bit. And yeah, that offensive profile is basically why you want Gnashers. Also, they are standard beasts. I did include them with this standard infantry video because, well, they don't really have their own category that's big enough, because if you just go for the standard beasts, then it's going to be a bit of a short list. Yeah, so they have advance 5, march 10. They get around a bit, and with Warcry you can get to advance 6 with Swift Stride. Well, Swift Stride they always have. The only disadvantage probably is that you have Discipline 5 and that you have a defensive stat line that's not that good. Because you only have 1 wound, resilience 3 and armor 0. So they are really vulnerable to mostly just magic ranged damage or missiles, even bow shots. I think bow shots are gonna have a blast when they see some Gnashers on the other side of the table. However, still, if the Gnasher herd manages to arrive at some bowmen, then it's not a good day for the bowmen after all. Yeah, so the Discipline 5 is one of the disadvantages still, but they do have Fearless. Fearless is a double-bladed sword. However, if you have Discipline 5, then I think Fearless is quite good. Then we will continue the list with the next choice. This is going to be the Lion Guard from the Highborn Elf army for me. They have always been a really solid pick, and they continue to be a really solid pick. Mostly, I think, because of their defensive stats. That does include having Bodyguard for a High Prince. That is the general. That does include defensive 5. That does include heavy armor and a Lion's Fur. So the Lion's Fur gives you +2 armor against ranged attacks. So in the end they have a 3-up armor save against all ranged attacks, which is massive, I would say, on just any infantry. There's not that much infantry in the game that has a 3-up armor save against ranged attacks. I think, well, some dwarven infantries, the Imperial Guard have it, and Warriors of the Dark Gods have it at some point. I think there's not too many others. So that is quite unique, especially for an Elven army. And then, well, if you combine that kind of defensive stat line with an offensive stat line, that is also really good, actually. Then you're in for a good time. So we have offensive 5, we have strength 4 in the profile, which is quite unique for an Elven unit. You have a great weapon, so in the end you go to strength 6. You go to AP 3 after the great weapon. With lightning reflexes it cancels out with your +1 to hit, but you do get to strike at your agility of 5, and agility 5 is still higher than most units have in the game. So you are still going to strike first a lot of the times. And then the really great boon for this unit, in my perspective, comes when you read that they cause multiple wounds 2 against large and beasts, large and cavalry, and gigantic. So that does exclude, unfortunately for them, large infantry. So that is probably the majority of large targets that you see. However, large beasts, large cavalry, gigantic gigantic you see plenty of. So this does counteract a little bit the vulnerability of infantry in general to gigantic creatures because of the thunderstorm. Yeah, I think it's just a really solid unit. They are quite expensive currently. Well, the price is probably going to go down at some point again. But the design, just the combined rules together, they make like that. It's really just a good pick. It's a solid pick. It will always be a solid pick with this composition of rules. It's just the price that will fluctuate over time, and maybe this is not the time to play them, but other times will be. Then for my number 3 pick, we're going to go practically to the Brothers of the Lion Guard, or at least in my mind. So that is the Judicators. They also have a march of 10, advance of 5, discipline 8. It's all the same. They don't have the special rule bloat on their model rules. They do have the same defensive profile, even though they don't have the Lion Cloak. They do have only one attack, just like the Lion Guard. They only have offensive 5, just like the Lion Guard. They have a strength less, actually. They have AP 2 in the profile, though. And they have agility 5 once again. They do have artistry of death, so they have +1 to wound. So basically that offsets the strength 4 of the Lion Guard. They also have lightning reflexes and a great weapon. However, they do have hatred. And this makes it, this really makes a big difference for me. Combined with the fact that they're only 20 points per model instead of the 27 of the Lion Guard that we saw before. So they are quite similar to Lion Guard, however they are cheaper, they have hatred, they have the +1 to wound. So well, once you're at strength 5 or strength 6, +1 to wound and an extra strength, the difference is not that big anymore, except for the situations where someone forces you to only wound something on a 6-up. But I don't think that currently exists in the game. And AP4 is just golden. It can make a difference, not too much of a difference, I guess. They used to have Lethal Strike, and I preferred that Lethal Strike AP3 over AP4, because it was combined also with multiple wounds 2 against standard infantry, or standard size models in general, I believe. Which made them really good at character killing. I mean, a Judicator champion was just one of the best tools in the Dark Elf kit to get rid of enemy characters. However, you do not have any bodyguard, you don't have any good armor against shooting, you don't have any multiple wounds anymore. So we will see what the rest of the book will develop into to support these guys maybe a bit better. However, at the price that they're right now at, I think they're a superior pick over the Lion Guard. For the number 2 pick, we'll go to a different army. So this is going to be the Vermin Swarm book with the Plague Disciples. Plague Disciples are a bane of the existence of a lot of different units. So they do have, I mean, the units that I have chosen in this summary are a bit of similar units in the sense that they have quite a lot of damage output. However, if things go wrong for the unit, it really goes wrong and the unit just disappears. On the plus side, though, you can run all of these units also at quite cheap price points and then still get a lot of mileage out of the units. Plague Disciples are no different in this regard. So compared to the Lion Guard and compared to the Judicators, they do kind of the same in the sense that they dish out a lot of damage also. So the first thing that is important about Plague Disciples is that they have Plague Flails, and attacks made with a Plague Flail gain +2 strength and +2 armor penetration. It's basically a great weapon that doesn't give you any downside, except for the fact that it cannot be enchanted with weapon enchantments. However, it even just gets better. So it just does get better in the sense that unless using another weapon, the wielder of a Plague Flail suffers -1 defense skill. Okay, that doesn't get better. However, in addition, at initiative step 10, regardless of the wielder's agility, the wielder must choose an enemy unit that it could normally allocate close combat attacks towards. And the chosen enemy unit suffers a hit with toxic attacks. You can also do this with models that can make supporting attacks. So yeah, so you have a unit of I don't know, anything that comes into 8 Plague Disciples. First, before any attacks are being made, basically, you are going to get 8 hits with toxic on the attacking unit. So for any unit that is, I mean, quite expensive for the wounds that you pay for them, with a low resilience, for example, elves, this is a horrible rule. I mean, if you already have 4 elves that die before you get the strike, it's really punishing. And that would be just a fine unit, right? I mean, just 1 attack, +2 strength, +2 AP. However, these guys also do have battle focus and hatred. So in the end, you do tend to end up with more hits than you have attacks. These hits, they are at strength 5, AP 2, and agility 4 even still, so that is quite nice. And this is all on a chassis that also advances 5, marches 10. However, it's light troops, so some people would love it if the unit got scoring, but I don't think light troops is ever combined with scoring, which is a good thing because this unit with light troops and scoring would be totally insane. Yeah, the only downsides to the unit basically is that they are frenzy, I think. And while you have defensive 2, which is going to drop to defensive 1 with your plague flail. However, this unit is more about dishing it out than getting hit, so it's going to be fine. In addition, you still have a rule that ensures your discipline. However, with a vermin demon in the army, it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, so many different occasions on which this unit really shines, and I don't think I have to explain to you why, because it's even for 200 points for just 8 models, you can have 3 units in your army. I've seen a lot of armies just taking 3 times 8 of those, because once you get to a little bit more bulky units, the payoff is a bit smaller, I feel. However, 12 models, you can still field them 6 wide and have a really good time. 15 models seems a bit too much, maybe. I've seen a lot of vermin swarm armies that use just 3 kind of big units of these guys, and for good reason. And then after the horrors of the Plague Disciples, we'll get to the number 1 pick for me. For me, the number 1 non-core infantry pick in the 9th Age is going to be the Seekers. This is a unit in Dwarven Holds, and there's a lot of people that take this unit. You can also play a Seeker spam, where you have 3 full units of them, each with Vanguard, because that is possible. Yeah, reasons why I think they're really good. Well, they don't have scoring, so once again, that is the one thing that they're missing. And I think that is the one thing that people that play 3 blocks of Seekers could still complain about. If they should have a reason to complain about anything with these units. And for some people, it's a reason to just play 12 nulls. So, what do we have? We have a lot of special rules. Some of them are embedded within other special rules, like, well, the Brothers of Vengeance is not a good example, because it just makes you a skirmisher practically. You're Coming With Me is a very elaborate rule. So I'll get to that later. The bigger they are means that you have Swift Stride on the charge against large or gigantic models. That is a biggie. Well, dwarves, they do struggle a bit with their charges because of the low advance, and I think that is the way to get to a dwarf player, to really make a benefit of these very short charge distances. And they do have sturdy, so don't forget that. They do get +1 strength, +1 AP on the charge, and they don't suffer any negative to hit modifiers for a strand shoot reaction. Luckily, they don't have any shooting weapons. That would be insane, especially if they would wound never on worse than 4+. Yeah, so the You're Coming With Me rule is going to be the one that sets the profile for the Seekers. So this means that close combat attacks made by models with that attack attribute can never wound on worse than a 4 up, and that is really, really strong, especially if you compare it with a lot of attacks through the paired weapons, and the great weapons are there then to just push through some armor, or in the scenarios where you can actually wound on a 3+ or a 2+. That could be spicy. So if you have a big unit and you might want to strike with a great weapon. If you have a smaller unit, then paired weapons seem really nice. The one thing that I also didn't mention yet is that they are unbreakable. So yeah, any model size of this unit does stuff on the board basically. You can just take 5 of them just to annoy the hell out of someone. And then it's 5 wounds that if they don't kill them, then you're gonna be held up for a turn. Probably, according to Dwarven players, that's not gonna be the best use of your Seekers. However, the unit with Vanguard, 3 units, full units of 25 models with Vanguard, it's really scary because they Vanguard up 12 inches, then they move up 9 inches, and then they ask you the question, what are you going to do about it? I mean, you have 75 models that are unbreakable, that always hit on or wound on a 4-up, or better. And yeah, that is a big problem in itself. But then there's still the part of the You're Coming With Me rule that I didn't explain yet, which is that for every attack that removes a rank and file model, you get a strength 5 AP2 hit, provided that it's a single close combat attack. Wait, you get an attack back. You don't get a hit back, you just get an attack back. So for every Slayer or Seeker that is removed, you get an attack back at strength 5 AP2. So if you thought that maybe the option here was to just go in, balls to the wall, just go crazy and kill all of them before they get a chance to strike, well, they'll still strike. They will just strike anyways, in addition to any attacks that they would normally make. So this is a very big difference between Empire Flagellants and Seekers. Seekers strike their special rule attack in addition, and Flagellants just have a special rule that they will always strike unconditionally of when they are removed. Yeah, so this is going to be my number 1 pick. I don't know if you agree with my summary or if I missed, according to you, really big players in the 9th Age world. Please let me know in the comments. It's a joy to look through the comments and see the different suggestions of people. And I hope you'll just stay following this series, and then I will see you the next time.